they're going to be able to hear us now, and we're going to do things. I'm gonna start playing the intro, and I'll cue you in. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Welcome to the Midwest Game Nerds podcast. I'm your host, John. Here with me today are Brian.
Hey.
And Alex.
Hello.
Today we're going to chat about some game news before going into a hopefully interesting conversation about the games of the decade. But before we get to all of that, if you want to follow us on social media or see all the places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You could subscribe for as little as $1 a month and keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at npn.bz/Patreon. And as always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. We are Twitch affiliates. You can give us your free Prime subscription if you would like, or if you want to subscribe for real, that is also cool. We do really appreciate that. Today's show is sponsored by Cinnamon Coca-Cola. Not really. If you become a Patreon subscriber, you will get a bonus episode sent to your Patreon to listen to for anybody who pays like $5 or more or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the bonus episode is going to be about Cinnamon Coke.
And maybe
It sounds way less interesting than it's going to be, I promise.
yeah, we're gonna we might also dissect a popular song that's 20 seconds long that has recently been a topic.
The
on
most
this
popular
podcast.
20-second long song.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. Anyways, Alex, any bumpers for the network?
Yeah, the Horror Movie Yearbook guys just released an episode on their top movies of the 2010s. Please go check that out. Should be a good discussion. And Westworld is coming back on March 15th. And
So
with
exciting. It's
Westworld
sooner than I
FM.
expected.
Yeah, it kind of I don't think it's fully like slotted into where Game of Thrones was, but I figured it would kind of be around that time frame.
Yeah.
And so it should be exciting. I think it'll be wrapping up right around the same time as The Outsider, which just started this past week.
Cool.
Stephen King adaptation. So
That looks interesting.
That's
It
got
is-
Ben Mendelsohn, right?
Ben
so
Mendelsohn.
it has to be good.
Yes.
There's no way it's bad.
yeah, and Nicole and I have watched the first 2 episodes, and it's very good. So
Cool.
check that out in the meantime. But yes, Westworld FM will be back, and at some point before then, we need to record a Preacher Summit where we discuss the comic and the show.
I think
So,
you all should dress in preacher garb.
Yes. Okay.
With
We'll all get
your priest collars
our
and black
collar.
shirts.
Yeah, and we got to get the little silver tabs on his.
See how blasphemous we can really get with it.
Someone should dress as Arseface.
Yeah, that can happen.
You're the
We'll get the-
closest, so you just show up and
Yeah.
Oh.
anyways, Brian, what have you been playing?
Started another game of the Forest.
Okay.
And been playing that. It's pretty cool.
Is it just? Are you going it alone? Are you playing with other
No.
people?
Yeah, one other person
Okay.
playing with Jim. And we have a pretty good little base going. It takes a lot longer to build a base with only 2 people versus like 3 or 4, of course.
Makes sense.
But,
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
had a system going on. I mean, we had 2 people hunting down trees, and then the third person was like just building
Yeah.
everything. So
Well,
it kind of worked.
we kind of do something similar, but
Yeah.
it's just 2 of us. The natives are getting very restless, though, and we've seen a lot of legsies and other things that
Oh.
are terrifying. But we managed to kill several of them and take their creepy armor
Nice.
and explore a lot of caves. And I don't know, that game still makes my skin crawl and makes me jump, even though I know what the hell the enemies look like and what they sound like and what they do. It still scares me.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. But it's pretty cool, though.
Haj is a fan of your flannel.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry.
It's from
Got a little-
Target, I think.
The cinnamon Coke gets you all.
But it's a nice flannel.
Yeah. And besides that, I tried Frostpunk. I should say I played a whole game of Frostpunk. It lasted about 15 minutes.
What kind of game is Frostpunk, Brian?
It is I guess the closest thing I could relate it to is like a resource sim, like a real-time
It's like-
resource strategy game.
Political too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like political resource management / city sim.
Yeah.
So all right.
But it takes place in like post-apocalyptic future Arctic area.
So like weird
Exactly.
genre SimCity is what we're
Yes.
talking.
kind of.
Okay.
I mean, your building types are, I would say, much more limited than SimCity, and your building space. Basically, you're building your whole town in like a crater,
Okay.
and it's snowing. It starts at a balmy -4 Fahrenheit, and I think it gets worse from there.
Yikes.
Yeah, and everybody's starts just like huddled around a generator, and it's not even on, or not a generator, a furnace, or and from there you're just like tasked to do all these things like gather coal, get food.
As I say, it sounds like
get
there's not
wood.
enough fossil fuels in that environment.
No,
Wonder what happened to them.
well, I lost really quickly.
Hire BP.
because I didn't understand exactly how to gather resources quick enough, and everybody just died. So, yeah, or they kicked me out. Actually, that's what they did. They banished me from being leader. So
And
basically,
do you go to a new crater?
no, you die because you
lose
go
the
out
game.
in the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it ends. But you can pass like different laws, like make people work for 24 hours straight, like an emergency shift law.
Wow.
And yeah, and you're basically trying to balance the hope and discontent meters. And it's a super depressing game. It tells you how many it tells you like how many people are sick, how many people are starving, how many people are freezing, who died yesterday. Everybody has a name. It
So
looks beautiful.
It gets real, like personal.
Yeah, but in its own way. But it's
Interesting.
very bleak. I've been intrigued by the game. I've been really interested to try it since it came out, but I was kind of just waiting and hoping it would be on, like Game Pass, for example. And now it is.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's on Origin Access as well. Yeah, if you like that type of thing, I would say definitely try it out. I'm definitely going to play some more now that I understand how to get a decent start.
Is there like? Do you know if there's like a win? Like, are there
think so.
conditions to beat the game of some sort, or is it just
Probably
kind of
like raising the hope meter all the way or something. I don't know. I was doing like a normal game, but there are other modes. Like they have scenarios, which I assume are like SimCity, where they drop you into a situation and you have to like accomplish a specific goal.
Are there disasters in the same way that can
I don't
like?
know. There could be. I mean,
Hmm.
there's probably like ridiculous blizzards and shit like that. And then there's also a endless mode where I guess you could just keep building forever and it doesn't end. I guess. I don't know.
Stop it!
That's what I would say when playing that mode.
I think that's all I played, other than the usual Destiny here and there. But I haven't been playing with anybody. I just been using it as like my game to play and not pay attention to what the fuck I'm doing. Just kind of disconnect and do a bunch of bounties and then log off.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you?
I beat Death Stranding after 58 hours.
And how do you feel about it?
I feel pretty good about it. I will say that I feel as though the end of that game does not play in a way that I would want it to.
What do you mean?
I can't
You
really
can't talk about it. 'cause
talk
it's-
about
okay.
it. It'll
Is it as disappointing as like everybody made it out to be in terms of an ending?
I wouldn't say that. I wasn't really disappointed by it. Maybe my expectations were tempered enough for me to kind of be like, I know that I'm not going to finish this game and be like, whoa, holy shit, what the fuck? But
I
like,
know kung fu.
yeah, but I know package delivery. But I think
I know pride.
I think it's very it continues to be just as on the nose as the rest of the game, and if you're
Yeah.
kind of expecting that going into it, then you'll be like, okay. So overall, I think the theme of the game and what he's trying to say with it is interesting and is worth having it out there. I think the people who are butthurt that it wasn't like as revelatory as it should have been must have never played a Kojima game before, because it's never really worked that way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think we're going to try and do a spoiler cast. I got to figure out how that's going to work. But I'm excited to talk about it openly and see what other people's experience with the game was.
Cool.
So, but yeah, that's all I've been playing other than PC troubleshooter.
For sure. No, I've only played Control. I'm like, I literally have to finish the mission I'm currently in, and then there's one more mission after that, and then I guess the game kind of has like a final act afterwards, according to what I was reading. I just looked to see a timeline so I understood where I was, so I could try and beat the game before today.
Did
but
you do all the side missions?
no, because the ones that I have are all fetch quests, and I don't want to do fetch quests.
I gotcha.
Because, like, those are boring to me. I don't like having to go and, like, go here and gather this, and then go there and gather that, and then bring it back to me. Like, I'm not into that kind of shit. It's not, if it were an MMO, I could understand it, but it's not an MMO. Don't make me do that kind of stuff. Make me discover other cool shit in the game, like the fucking rubber ducky and the refrigerator and, like, all that shit. The Ghostbusters 2 reference, I don't know if anybody else caught that anywhere on the internet, but I did.
I don't know.
The game takes place in, like, it's in New York, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, which is where Ghostbusters 2 takes place, right? And there's a baby buggy. It is the exact baby buggy from the very beginning of the movie where Oscar gets pulled by the ooze.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And it's in the containment chambers on like the 4th floor or whatever.
Is there any document relating
no,
to
there's
it?
nothing that's I just saw it and I was like, holy shit, that's the fucking baby buggy from Ghostbusters 2. Like,
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, what a cool reference. And then I was like, what other shit have I possibly missed from like every other fucking horror movie that I've ever seen all throughout time? Like,
Yeah.
so then I just started walking back through the building to see other stuff, and it's man, what a cool fucking game, man.
Brian, have you gotten to the Panopticon yet?
Yeah.
The that set piece is fucking awesome. Like, just
Dude,
the idea of the
ashtray maze
Panopticon.
sequence
I
is
haven't done that yet.
I'm not going to spoil it. There's nothing to spoil, but my God, what a cool fucking
It's very
sequence.
cool.
I've never felt more badass in a game. It was like playing out the scene in The Matrix where you walk into the lobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like,
It's pretty
what
rad.
and that's the thing is, like, I read about, because I ran into the ashtray maze like before the story point
Yeah,
where
I've
you
seen it.
yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? And so then I like looked it up online, and everybody's like, don't we're not going to spoil it. Just wait till you get there in the story, because by the end of it you will say, just like what's her name says, wow, that was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And literally, like, as she's like exiting it, she goes, that was cool. And I'm like, oh my God, it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so good. What a great game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't care for fetch quests, so I just haven't been doing those side missions. I have 2 of them right now. I have to collect mold samples, and I have to go into the, what is it? I can't remember. You have to go into like the portal and like find the one dude's men and like get tags from them or something like that, some remembrance item.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to do it in like a specified amount of time, or else you get pulled out. Oh, the jukebox. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't done any of that.
I was not a fan of the Spore stuff.
No, I did it. Yeah, and it was lame.
That was my least favorite.
And then I got to a
missions.
boss that whooped my ass so
Yeah.
fast, and I'm like, I don't want to trek all the way back down there again. I give up.
That boss, I died many times, and I only won because eventually it bugged out on me.
Do you get anything out of it? Is it worth it?
That's the thing. I think they're all just like time killers at this point. Like,
Is
you,
it
you can
just-
just finish the game if you want.
Is it just like resources, or do
you
get,
get
an
to
ability?
you get to complete your
Skill
ability,
tree.
your skill tree. That's basically all you get out of it.
Which I want to do, because I feel like in order for me to get past the area that I currently am, I need the skill tree to be maxed, because I'm having so much difficulty with it. But I also don't think I'm playing this part right, based off of other conversations I've seen on the internet regarding it. But yeah, the refrigerator boss, I know I can beat him. That's not a problem. I just, like, the few times I tried, I couldn't, but I know I can do it. Like,
Yeah.
That's another thing. The backwards Jessie in the mirror, fuck that. Like, she's so much faster and I don't understand why she's so much better at the game than I am.
Because she is.
She's a program. I get it, man. It's
Yeah.
fucking science, yo.
No, that game's still.
It's so
awesome.
great. I think everybody needs to play Control. What an amazing game! Like to end my year with 2019. I mean, it's so good, and I think about it constantly. I'm always like, man, like I just should go back and watch X-Files all over again.
I'm
Like,
very curious about the DLC. I don't know if you guys are aware, but
I know there's more coming.
yeah, so they call AWE's Altered World events
Yeah.
or something of that nature. But one of the they like put out a roadmap picture that said AWE on it, and it also looked like a forest from Alan Wake.
Well, it is in
And
the same universe.
They are
so
definitely
Yeah,
in the same
very
universe,
clear.
but there's like
it's not-
overt
there's not, like-
suggestions.
I mean, they're like you pick up paperwork that says we ran into Alan Wake, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
There's this cabin in the wood, yada yada,
Yeah,
like all
yeah.
this shit. Like
And it mentions the town that takes
Yeah.
place.
Yes, but that like this, there have been some discussions that maybe they will actually fold them together with the DLC. So
okay. That's
We'll see.
cool. That'd be
But-
cool. That makes me want to go back and actually play Alan Wake, which I
too.
do have a free copy of somewhere.
I really was enjoying the story of that game and the atmosphere of it all, but I hated the gameplay in Alan Wake.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
I haven't tried it out yet. I've owned it for a long time on Steam, but
I just want to listen to that song from the Ashtray Maze on repeat.
there you go.
I could probably just turn the
Difficulty down.
all the way on Alan Wake, and I'd be
And just
okay.
rip through the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all I played. Let's hit some news.
Alrighty, news time. Sony will not be attending E3 2020 once again.
Boom.
Bummer.
CNET reporting that they said that the vision of the show isn't right. This is their second year saying that they will not. And the quote was, after thorough evaluation, Sony has decided not to participate in E3 2020. We have great respect for the ESA as an organization, but we do not feel the vision of E3 2020 is the right venue for what we are focused on this year.
I guess.
And then the spokesperson added that Sony's global event strategy will be more fan-focused in 2020 with hundreds of consumer events across the globe being planned. So it seems like, we've gotten to the point where Sony doesn't need nobody nowadays. No big company needs to go to E3 to get the word out anymore. And in some cases, it seems like it's even better because you can carve out your own time frame and take control of the media. The news cycle basically whenever you would like to, rather than waiting for everybody vying for it at E3. But it does feel like a pretty big, kind of a big nail in the coffin for E3 when it's a big console reveal year and Sony's not even going to show up to it. That's kind of a bummer. Like, you would think that they would be like, all right, we got this new hardware. If there's any reason to go to E3 again, this would be it. But
it makes me curious as to like what they're going to do to allow fans and media, other than just like private media outlets, like to play it and try it and see how it works and learn about the system. Like, what is
who
their
knows?
plan?
I mean, PAX is at the end of February. If there's any world where the PlayStation 5 is at PAX, that would be nuts. But I don't know. But
Yeah.
I mean, we saw they did a really massive rollout with PSVR, prior to where we got to go and play it before it came out.
Yeah.
So it's not like they don't have the
I wonder if that was
experience
cheaper for
doing
them to
that.
do. Like, I wonder if overall that was less expensive to just send out PR people to Best Buys to try out the new hardware than it was for them to go and pay for a booth at E3.
Fly all these people in to put on this big production and to continue to like show it off to different press people.
And they probably spent their entire budget on the electric car at CES. So
Maybe, but
it has a PS5 built into it. I made that up. Don't take my word for that.
maybe they're just gonna drive that car around the United States and have
With the
people
PS5.
come play
you
PS5.
just get to sit
it.
in the seat and play PS5 in the car.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Oh wow. Yeah, only like 3 people can play at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has autonomous driving, so the driver can play too.
Oh yeah,
True.
good point.
Yeah.
He has to show you how to.
It comes
use
with
everything.
4 VR helmets.
Yeah,
and everybody puts one on.
It's all just a Gran Turismo. It's like Gran Turismo Horizons, and you get to drive around the roads.
The I don't know.
Real life
I didn't
roads
really look up the
in
Sony
VR.
car much, but the Audi e-tron, I know that that's like an option to have VR in it.
Sounds about right.
That sounds awful. Like,
It's ridiculous.
do you want to really get motion sick?
Yeah. Do you want two degrees of motion sickness? But
It's like a concept thing. I don't think they.
Yeah, those
are
VR
rolling
helmets
that
come
out
with the
yet,
installed barf bag on them.
but I'm pretty sure
It
I
just
saw
straps
that.
to your chin.
it's like a pilot's helmet
yeah,
with the tube.
with the
Yeah.
mask that you just barf into and it sucks it out. Like,
Kind of like that chair. No, never mind.
But anyway, yeah, Sony's not going to be at E3, and that's a bummer. But in terms of other Sony news,
well, you know what? Like before, like let's be honest here. Everybody can like we can be mad at E3 because they released all of the media's like information and like all of the media, like all the different blogs and outlets are like mad at them still for doing that because they were just like whoops, like
yeah,
kind of
No,
a big deal, man.
and I think we've just gotten to a point like getting all of the journalists and all of the companies together at once to get all the news out there made sense in a world before the internet or before everybody had the internet in their pocket.
Yeah, well, right, and now everybody, like anybody with content, can just spit it out on their own.
Yeah,
Without having to,
absolutely.
like-
And I can follow PlayStation's tweets on my phone and get a notification anytime they want to say anything.
Yeah.
So
On one hand, I,
think
guess good on them for not inconveniencing anyone to like have to fly out to go see the PlayStation 5 announcement. you
well,
know?
they'll probably they could still do that as a thing. They might hold an event at some
But they don't need to. They
some
can just
big thing that they own.
You know, in their main U.S. campus, they probably have an amphitheater that they can just put all of their staff in and announce it, make it look packed, make it look super exciting, and all those people are going to be super pumped because they're like, "Oh, it's the PS5. We've been working on this for the past like year. Like, we can do this." You know, like
It's entirely possible. Yeah.
Hooray.
We'll see what they do. Supposedly we're going to hear something in February, so we'll find out.
yeah,
But
we'll see.
yeah. But also it seems as though Kotaku has some sources saying that Horizon Zero Dawn will be coming to PC.
And Jason Schreier wrote
Yeah,
this, so you
that's
know it's
the only reason why I thought it was newsworthy. Is I saw his name and I'm like, this is probably right.
Yeah, I mean the weird thing, like I guess it makes sense because they're
Just
probably
Death Stranding. They're probably testing the engine on PC with Horizon.
or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, like who knows? They're doing the work for one of them already, so why not do it for the second one?
I'm curious to know how much they're gonna sell it for though, because if you can buy it as like a greatest hits on PlayStation for $20, like what the fuck's the point in paying $60 for it on PC? Like,
Well, but if you don't own a PlayStation 4 and you haven't been able to play the game before, why not pay $60 for it? You know.
I guess.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, they're saying here that they expect to see it on both Steam and the Epic Game Store, although that's not finalized yet. But it will be the first Guerrilla game on a non-PlayStation platform since Sony purchased the Netherlands-based studio in 2005, and it will be an opportunity for Guerrilla to show off its technical chops. It was locked at 30 frames per second on PS4, so it could look even more insane on PC.
It's still one of the best looking games on console, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that excites me. I would probably pick it up again.
It's very interesting to me. Obviously, the game's 3 years old at this point, so as in my position, I don't want to wait 3 years to play Sony exclusives on PC necessarily.
No, but I feel like they're just now trying this, and the new like
With that
plan
engine,
will be maybe after 6 months they might release.
Yeah. Or longer. It could
an
be a
exclusive.
year-long exclusive or something
That's
like
better
that.
I mean,
than
I'm
3 years.
assuming
For
they're
sure.
just testing to see how transferable the actual engine is to PC. If it's something they can do quicker, you know, like I'm sure their goal would be to just release as many platforms as possible at any one time, so they can say, "Hey, we sold X amount of copies."
Yeah.
Not we sold X amount of copies on PlayStation.
The more people they sell their game to, the better, right? Even
Yeah.
if it's a first-party game. So
Correct.
it makes sense from that standpoint, but wondering how they're going to play it in order to protect themselves from cannibalizing PlayStation sales is another thing. So
yeah,
We'll see. This is once again another step in the weird future of video games where all the games come out for everything.
I don't know. I do feel like it's in their best interest to put some stuff out on PC because of the way Microsoft has their model now. It's like I can get a lot of their games on PC, and I can't get PlayStation games on PC. So that's money that Sony isn't getting.
But at the same time, are you considering buying a Series X, Brian?
Do you know what this
No.
makes me think? This makes me think that they know something we don't know about Google Stadia.
The thing is,
Maybe.
they don't make the profit on the hardware. They make the profit on the games.
That's certainly the line for sure, and I fully acknowledge that that's true. But then I don't know. I guess the question is, why would they have gotten into the console business in the first place? You know,
They could have just sold games on Xbox,
True.
or PC single-handed, instead of dividing themselves.
yeah. Like
But
it's
this
just
makes me think that they know something we don't know about streaming services being the future. I'm throwing that out there.
maybe.
Well, boo-hoo. I don't like the future then because I still think it's not as good as playing a game.
Just wait,
On my
man.
own
Once
system.
5G is legit, like the legit 5G, not the bullshit they're rolling out right now because that's garbage. But when real 5G hits,
Legit 5G that can't
Five-
penetrate your home walls.
5G instead of 5 garbage.
yes,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah, it can't penetrate your home walls, but you.
Jeff Goldblum liked that joke, Brian.
But yeah, you'll buy like a 5G antenna for the inside of your house, much like the router that you currently pay for from your cable service provider or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's the same shit, but on a smaller scale with faster internet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Starlink. Starlink.
Last story, there's a new Switch supposedly coming. This is everything that we heard last year was that there was a Switch Pro and a Switch Mini coming. Clearly the Mini one came out. The Pro did not make it yet to market. I think the assumption was they wanted to put more distance between the smaller one and this more powerful one.
Well, yeah, because everybody who bought the Mini is now going to go out and buy the bigger, better one.
Yeah, so I think the idea is here that they would be putting out, this would be a console that would still be able to do both docked and undocked.
Ah, yes.
It's the way to go.
But then kind of a big question mark is what the pricing is going to look like. So the Polygon article says that there's a retail price of $399 with 4K support, bigger cartridge sizes, and beefed up components.
Beefed up.
But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like once again, it's one of those things with Nintendo where they put out a better version of their console and they never quite used it to its maximum potential. So
Sorry.
John and Brian are broken because I said something stupid.
Well, it wasn't just what you said that was stupid. It was Brian mocking
repeating it. Yeah. All right.
Beefed up.
You guys.
Sounds delicious.
But yeah. So what do you guys think of a Switch Pro?
Just
Too expensive for me.
I don't need a new system, man. I just built a PC that's hopefully good for the next few years, and I'll be honest with you, man. I'm a little disappointed in my Switch right now because I feel like the only thing on it are indie releases. Like I don't feel like there's any push for me to buy bigger, better hardware because the games on it all have 8-bit looking graphics.
Yeah,
True.
that's the thing is like I don't know like 4K Zelda 2, whatever the
That would be
Zelda
nice.
sequel is
Sure.
going to be, that would be pretty interesting. 4K Metroid Prime 4 would be very nice. Metroid
could-
Prime 4K.
4K Splatoon.
Metroid
would be
Prime
nice.
at all would
Yeah.
be very nice, to be honest with you.
But I don't I don't know.
What I would want from a newer model is better constructed, more comfortable Joy-Cons, in my opinion, because that's always been my biggest complaint.
Well, I mean, you're going to need them cuz it's going to be a bigger piece of hardware. Thank you.
There goes my
But
diet.
the idea, like, it already made me nervous initially when I had my Switch, carrying a $300 console around, like, in my bag, and I can't imagine carrying a $400 one around.
So to
would
beef
make me
duff to
feel any better.
$3.99.
Yeah.
Put that in your backpack.
I'm gonna make John choke.
I'm not gonna show.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't need a new Switch, but I'd probably buy one anyway because it'd be like, oh, this one's getting old right now.
You would buy it because you have to have all the newest, coolest stuff.
Yeah, I'm a technology whore.
You know what would be intriguing too is if the display on the handheld was actually like 1080p or something.
Yeah, I would think.
And like OLED or something. That would be intriguing, I guess.
Yeah, so you can have 30 minutes of battery life.
Yeah, exactly. And
If it actually had a
mild
glass
burn-in.
touch screen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think there's opportunity for it, but they really need to make their case, and I don't necessarily know. Like,
I just don't need it.
for them to be like, this is what you've been waiting for. I don't know that I've been waiting for just a slightly better Switch. You know,
Right.
I think at this point, Switch 2 would be what I would want, but that would be, I don't know what that even takes the form of at this point. So, all right.
It's VR.
Sure. Yeah. And with that, I think we're done with the news.
Yup.
Um,
So we're going to talk about our games of the decade. The format for this is we each made a list of games of the decade. Brian's is obscenely long. Alex's is pretty long too. I actually went through and picked one game from each year, and I also listed the amount of time that I played it. I think the way we're going to do this, we're going to just go run through each of our lists, and then each of us is going to announce which game we feel is the actual game of the decade, and then we're going to argue it. Fair enough?
yep.
All right. Do you want me to start because you're eating?
Yep.
All right. So from 2010, Civ 5. From 2011, Skyrim. From 2012, Far Cry 3. 2013, Tomb Raider. 2014, Destiny. 2015, Bloodborne. 2016, Rainbow Six Siege. 2017, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. 2018, God of War. And 2019, Control. Those are my top games of each individual year of the decade. Now, my game of the decade, I'm leaning most towards Skyrim being the game of the decade. That's my list. Brian, why don't you go?
Okay.
You can just read through your list.
Well, I tried to break it down. I had a huge list of games because I kind of figured we'd just have more to discuss that way, like we really need it. But then I narrowed things down to what I think would be my personal top 10 in no particular order. Mass Effect 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Witcher 3, Skyrim, Portal 2, Forza Horizon 4, XCOM, Enemy Unknown, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witness, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. I can't talk because I have cookie in my mouth still. And then others, Rainbow Six Siege, BioShock Infinite, StarCraft 2, Civ 5, the original Red Dead Redemption, barely made the cut, actually.
Yeah.
At 2010.
Yep.
Bloodborne, Rocket League, Destiny, Titanfall 2, Grand Theft Auto 5, mostly the online component, specifically. The Last of Us, God of War 2018, Doom 2016, Control, Into the Breach, Dishonored 2, PUBG, and Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Cool. Alex. Brian, which one is your number one game of the decade?
If I'm heavily leaning toward Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
All right.
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah. So my list, it's mostly in chronological order, maybe not within each year, but and some of these I just have on here as like shout outs. But Mass Effect 2, Mortal Kombat 2011, Skyrim, Portal 2, Battlefield 3, Spelunky, Fez, Journey, Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon. That's a shout out to Nick because I know that would be on his decade list. The Last of Us, Rogue Legacy, Grand Theft Auto 5, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain specifically, not Ground Zeroes, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, The Witness, Hyper Light Drifter, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Friday the 13th, the game, definitely the game of the decade. Best game ever made.
Absolutely not.
John's worst game of the decade.
Super Mario Odyssey, Dead Cells, and Control.
Yeah, damn. I would pick Dead Cells and Control to put on the list too.
I think if any of the, like, if to me, if there are any games, I'd be disappointed if a lot of these didn't make it on there. But if there's one game that needs to make it onto the list of best games of the decade, to me, it is Spelunky.
Okay.
So,
Now, Alex, why does Spelunky belong as the game of the decade?
Spelunky is a masterclass in roguelike randomized video game design. Like, there's the systems that went into making Spelunky work as a video game are insane. The idea that every single level has 4 different blocks to it that are randomly assembled and designed to work with each other no matter what order they're put in, and designed to be completely playable in that form. I think it's a technological marvel in the first place. And then on top of that, I feel like after Spelunky became this deluge of big roguelike games that continued to try and like push the genre forward and figure out ways to make it more difficult to learn how to like to design a game where you're like learning more about it as you play it, and it had a little bit of that like soulsiness to it where you continue to die and learn more about how the game works and things of that nature. So yeah, Big Os 1 in the chat, John, is this guy from work, Josh, and he's
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
What
but,
up, man?
World of Warcraft doesn't need to make it because it didn't come out this decade, just like you said. But anyway, I think Spelunky is one of the best games of all time, let alone of the decade. And that's why I think it should be on this list.
Cool. Brian, what's your argument for Mass Effect 2?
It's awesome.
Great argument.
All right.
It's-
Next.
Moving along.
It's just like, I mean, for me, it was basically like the pinnacle of what you'd want in a cinematic RPG experience, especially a sci-fi one, and it's just awesome. I mean, the characters are great. You kind of feel for them all, and I mean, the story I feel like is a bit stronger than the original one, but that came out last decade.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's just, as far as the Mass Effect games go, it's probably like the most balanced as far as like having good tight gameplay and having interesting characters and story and looking good and playing good, sounding good. It's just an awesome experience, and it's like exactly what I wanted in a like spacefaring adventure. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, the thing about it to me is, and it's been a while since I've tried to play it, but I'm curious how well the combat holds up in 2020 at this point. But I think like because of the story and everything else in the game is such a touchstone for like action games, action role-playing games in the decade, I can't deny that it should be on this list somewhere, So yeah, but I'm very curious to know whether or not people who would pick it up today would be how they would find the combat and whether or not they would be fully engaged with it. And
I've actually never played it. I've only played the first Mass Effect, and I really liked it, and I think I lent it to someone, and I don't have the disc anymore. So that sucks.
I think you lent it to me probably.
I don't think so, because I have the case, and the case has a lot of weed in it because somebody was breaking up their weed on the case.
But I guess that wasn't.
So there's
you.
there's a whole bunch of weed on it.
Well,
I'm
either
pretty
way,
sure I know who I lent it to, but I don't know why I don't have the disc back.
I think I have a copy of it. But
I do for sure.
Hodge is surprised none of us said any Fallout games, but that's because to me, I think Fallout 4 is the only one that came out in this.
No, New Vegas did.
New Vegas.
New Vegas came out in that? Okay. I prefer Fallout 3 to New Vegas, so that's
there-
why.
New Vegas has some of my favorite side quests that I've ever played in any of those games, but overall, I am not a super fan of that game like I was of Fallout 3.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't put it on my list. It's just too damn janky. Like it's not polished like the Outer Worlds, which, yeah.
You can blame that on the engine, I suppose.
John,
no, not well,
speaking of
somewhat.
janky engines, John, why is
In
Fallout or
Bethesda.
why is Skyrim your?
Skyrim is my number one pick for the decade. I have a few reasons behind this. The biggest reason being that it kind of broke open this idea of open world RPGs to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a game that was so... It still had the depth of like most other Elder Scrolls games and Bethesda games for that matter. Like, it has a ton of depth to like what you can do, who you can be, how you can play, whatever. But it did it in a manner that was so accessible. There were people who I didn't even know played video games that were
Because
like,
they
hey,
didn't until Skyrim.
I gotta go buy this Skyrim game because
Yeah.
I got super stoned in my friend's dorm and I watched him play for like 15 hours and now I want to do that. And part of like one of the other things I really liked about it was like the scale and the scope of the game was massive. I mean, this was literally like taking World of Warcraft, right? Like taking a game that has a whole world to it, and you get to play like a continent that is the size of that world. And there's so many places to go and so many things to see and so many things to do and all the different companion quests and things, and just like they started adding to it. You could build a house. You know, like it just did something that no other game had done before in a way. And this, again, the scale, being able to fight a fucking dragon, you know,
Yeah.
like it was like taking something from like Shadow of the Colossus and Eco and like all those games and bringing it to an audience that would never have touched those games and allowing them the opportunity to fight a fucking dragon. Like,
I think this setting helped a lot with like the crazy snow and the mountains, the dragons.
Yeah.
Definitely. That was like a new thing to that whole series. Scale wise, I think it's actually smaller than previous Elder Scrolls games, but the level of detail is much higher.
yes.
And the simulation of the world and like how people go about their day and all
It-
that
it was a
stuff
game-
is
it-
more detailed as well.
And it was a game that at the time like really showcased the hardware that it was on, you know, for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah,
like
I
it
mean-
really, like when you actually head to the northern area and there's the fucking snowstorms that are happening and like you still have people running out of the woods to be like, hey, you're that one guy, I'm gonna fight you. And you're like, no, you're not. I'm gonna fucking kill you because I'm completely overpowered. I've played this game for 400 hours at this point. Like, there's nothing you can do to me. I will flick you across the map. And then you do. Like,
Bringing up some of the Witcher 3 versus Elder Scrolls Skyrim discussion that was happening in our like friend Discord,
our
I
personal
feel
Discord.
as though one of the important points about Skyrim as well is the fact that like you can play that game however you want to play it.
That's why, I mean, I feel, for me personally, they have a place in my heart for different reasons. Because,
Yeah.
yes, Skyrim is totally more of like a sandbox experience. Like, it's your world.
It's not the
play
greatest
you
narrative
or
in the
whoever
world.
you want to be.
Yeah.
You're actually, role playing a character. In The Witcher 3, you are Geralt, and that's what you do. You play him.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like the narrative of Skyrim itself is fully reliant on you and the things that you do and the things that you come across and whatever you choose to see. Whereas the narrative of something like The Witcher, like even if you just follow the main quest line, you're getting a good story out of that. Whereas you're making your own story in
the
Skyrim.
story is definitely a strong point of The Witcher versus Skyrim.
I also the game has spawned how many countless memes on the internet?
Mm.
Like, it's embedded in culture in so many different ways.
Yeah.
It's been released like every single year on different platforms. It's literally on every system that's come out in the past decade.
The meme that Nick posted in our Patreon, in our podcast Patreon, was quite funny. Skyrim was released 9 years ago, 7 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and 2 years ago.
Yes.
Because it's come out so much. Like it certainly has been released the most amount of times in the decade.
Right,
but
and on as many platforms as you could possibly think of, including VR,
Yeah.
which is like I don't know if anybody listening to this has even tried to play Skyrim in VR, but if you want to talk about scale, don't talk to me about scale until you play VR
Okay,
Skyrim
yeah,
because it is fucking life changing. Like
Yeah.
I did try it at your, or did I try it here?
I think you tried it at my house.
or your,
Yeah, you did the bow, some of the archery
it's
shit.
definitely impressive. I'm really intrigued to see like the next generation Elder Scrolls game and how like I have a feeling VR will be included in that from
I hope
launch,
so. That would be
if
beautiful.
VR is still a thing.
It
or
will.
if
It
It
is still
sounds
a
like
thing.
died, I
a
don't
terrible big headache for Bethesda, who already, I assume, would have big headaches trying to release a game.
But the thing is, if they're using the same engine, which they are, they've already stated they're using the same engine that they've been using for all of these games. Like,
yeah, because they have to, because they haven't fixed it yet.
but they're going to allow you to, like, why wouldn't they allow you to play it in
Yeah.
VR? Like
Mhm.
it's literally just a port.
And there's so many other games I've played that have implemented VR after the fact that are tiny companies made those games, and I just don't see any reason why they couldn't implement it.
So
as-
you're
as
saying
their-
it'll probably still be janky, but at least you'll be able to play it in
But
VR.
I feel like it'll be less janky though. Having like they'll be able to have that in mind as they design it, so maybe it'll turn out a little less janky. But
Maybe.
who knows? Maybe not because it's Bethesda.
There's just it's playing in VR, like learning how to use the controls in archery and stealth and everything is really cool. But there's something to be said about. I reference this every time I talk about this, like walking up the stairs of High Hrothgar for the
Mhm.
first time, or any Bleak Falls Barrow or whatever the hell, like just seeing the arches over these dragon temples, like, and being able to physically move your head upwards and look at them is just, there's something about that.
The first time I got immolated by a dragon was a pretty interesting experience as well. Like, I was like, holy shit.
I just think this game has a much larger impact, like, on games as a whole than any of the other games we've talked about. That's my argument, is like this game has done way more and has transcended boundaries in so many different ways that it may not be like the greatest game ever made. The Witcher 3 is that, but it is a really fucking good game that has done far more for the genre and gaming in general than any of the other games.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't have any arguments against Skyrim.
No, I mean we can all say that's on the list for sure.
Yeah.
But that's the game of the decade.
Is it the game of the decade, though, is the question. Would you take it over Mass Effect, Brian?
I mean I could be difficult about it, but
I mean, I suppose
Sure,
we probably
why
should have
not?
came up with more criteria as to like what makes the game of the decade, I suppose. But like,
I think it's different for every person is the thing. Like, the things that I didn't even necessarily have criteria. The way I put my list together, I pulled up the 20 whatever in video gaming articles on Wikipedia, and I looked through all the games, and I was like, let me pick out the things here that have stood the test of time and still I care about or I have some attachment to, and things of that nature. Like
Skyrim, it has literally
Skyrim
stood the test of time over the course of the entire decade.
for sure. And to me, it like, I have these moments where I remember it being cold outside and snow was falling on the ground, and I could hear the Skyrim soundtrack, and I think that game has made some incredible memories in my mind. But other things, including like Battlefield 3, I have stories with Nick and Gojo. Like, there's this one game of Control Points that we played that was just insanity. We shouldn't have won it, and we came back from like a ridiculous lead, and it was fantastic. But at the same time, like, is Battlefield 3 the best shooter of the decade? No.
I don't think it's even the best Battlefield game.
There you go. So I think these games of the decade, we can have our own personal slant on it, but also kind of like admire what is good in these video games as well. But looking at other things too, like all of us, I think, have Breath of the Wild on our list, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
That
But
game
Breath of the Wild would not exist without Skyrim,
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's what
it's
I'm saying,
definitely
right?
Like-
influenced by Skyrim.
for sure. So I think that makes sense. I think Skyrim's got to be somewhere near the top of the list, right?
it is the top of the list. It's at the peak of High Hrothgar.
But Grand Theft Auto 5 on my list, I don't even think I should have necessarily. Like, I have a lot of fun playing online with it, but I haven't played any of the story at all. I can honestly
have,
remove it
but
from my list.
I never got through it all because I bought that game originally on 360.
Yeah.
And I couldn't port my save games over. Like,
Yeah.
my online progress carried over, which was cool.
Yeah.
But I was pretty bummed that I had to start the story over because there's certain missions that I just didn't really like. It's intriguing, though. It is like, it does have a place on the list, I feel like, not just for the online component, because that is pretty groundbreaking, honestly. Just the fact that it's still going so strongly.
And they're making so much money
they
off
make
of it.
their whole DLC model on it, just being, it's all free.
My only
Um,
problem with it, though, is that it's not a good experience. Booting into online is one of the most painful gaming experiences that you could ever have.
It is pretty awful, and you don't
And
know
getting
when. There's
disconnected constantly is a
There's no
problem.
like progress bar of it loading. So like if you walk away to like go get a snack and you come back and you've already died 6 times. Like,
Yeah, and you're just getting griefed continually by some dude who like invites everybody to his apartment, and then when everybody rejects it, they walk out of the apartment, and then he blows them all up. Like,
I had a lot of fun kicking Brian's ass in golf.
Oh yeah, the golf game. We spent like hours playing golf in that game.
Like we would go and change our outfits to go play golf and fucking online.
Yep.
and that's why it works. But I think
It's
there's
great.
a lot about it that doesn't necessarily work. But I understand why somebody would want to include it in the discussion for sure. But
So Skyrim.
it just. But here's the thing: is it Skyrim? Or is it Rainbow Six Siege?
I thought we were going to come up with a list of 10.
No, well, yes, but we need to determine what is the game of the decade.
What is the game of the decade?
And in talking about it, like I think we have 3 games on our list of 10 already. I think it's
Okay.
Mass Effect 2. I think it's Skyrim. I think Spelunky's on there because fuck you guys. But anyway,
No, Spelunky's fine. I think Spelunky's. Dude, the amount of rage that Spelunky induces in people is beautiful.
and
What
but
true game doesn't make you angry as fuck?
To
Like,
be
there you
honest,
go.
I get angry enough, and that's probably why I haven't played Spelunky that much. But I have
yeah, I
played
wouldn't
it a
touch
bit,
it if
and
I
it
were
does
you.
seem like a very well-designed game.
I think you'd break a controller if you really got
He'd have
deep
an
into a
aneurysm
Spelunky
is what he
run.
would do.
Yeah, it'd break my brain.
But what I think we need to talk about Rainbow Six Siege. Like if this is our game of the decade.
Again, even though we have Siege on multiple platforms, I have Skyrim on multiple platforms, and the combined amount of time I've spent on Skyrim is so much that I can't count. Like how like it's in the thousands of hours at this point. Like if I really think about it and break it down, the amount of time I killed 2 Xboxes playing Skyrim, 2 of them.
It's crazy.
And I guess the thing is, both of these games are things that were outside of what I originally thought would be something I would care about. I don't usually care about high fantasy role playing in a lot of cases. And so the fact that I played as much Skyrim as I did is one thing. And then the same goes for Rainbow Six Siege because I could not give less of a shit about any competitive shooters. And the fact that I'm still wanting to play Rainbow Six Siege 5 years after it
I
released.
want to play it right now.
Exactly. So I think that's, I don't know.
If there were,
It feels like Skyrim certainly is more influential, but in my heart, I feel like Rainbow Six Siege is our game of the decade.
Like Skyrim can be like the overall game of the decade, like in general, and then Siege is like
Siege is number
the,
2.
the game nerds game of the decade.
Yeah,
or the multiplayer game of the decade.
I guess.
If we could have a superlative, I think that's it.
That could be one superlative, I guess. We could have come up with a few different superlatives
Well,
for
just-
game
yeah,
of
like-
the decade
like-
type stuff.
Like Haj said, Bad Company 2 is the best shooter of the decade in his opinion.
I think it was the most fun Battlefield game I played, and it's the one that got me into playing those games. But I still like Rainbow Six Siege better overall as a multiplayer game.
Yeah, like Rainbow Six has kind of ruined other shooters for me because of the way it feels and how well it controls and things of that nature. Like when I was playing Borderlands
Yes.
and I was kind of like, I don't know that I can do this because things don't die when I shoot them in the head, and
Where are my gadgets?
I can't run as fast and things of that nature. But
Can't reinforce the walls.
so, all right, if we've got, so we have, all right, I'm gonna go up here, and we're gonna make our top 10 MGNP top 10 games of the
That's
decade.
the second page, just so you know.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
So number 1 is probably Skyrim. Number 2, Rainbow Six. Number 3,
You can put Mass Effect because the two of you both put Mass Effect.
Mass Effect 2. Number 4, Spelunky. So we have 6 more games that should end up on this list. I don't even necessarily know that Breath of the Wild should be on the list if Skyrim's on the list.
I kept putting it on and taking it off my personal top
Civ
10.
5 is the best strategy game of the decade.
That's I can agree with that one, I think. Well, I don't know. Into the Breach is pretty fucking rad. That's a different
I
kind
love
of
Into the
strategy though.
Breach. I own it on 2 platforms, so that says something.
The Witness was our game of the year in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because of Brian and I, because John didn't play it.
I still think about it. I still try to get everybody I know to play it because it's just a unique experience.
So if there's one puzzle game on this top 10, is it Portal 2 or is it The Witness?
Actually, I would pick Portal 2.
You'd pick Portal 2?
It's just too charming.
It is
And-
really, really good.
And to be honest, like, you probably haven't played the co-op part
I played some of I actually
I
played
played
some of it with Andy.
all the
'cause
way through it, and it is just as good as the single player.
We
in
actually-
a different way.
That was one of the first instances of crossplay because I was playing on my
Oh,
PS3 and
nice.
Andy was playing on his PC, and that was a lot of fun back in the
Awesome.
day. But yeah, I can't disagree. Portal 2 shouldn't be anywhere near as good as it is, being the second game in the series,
Yeah.
but for some reason it's fucking incredible.
Yeah, the story is just awesome. Everything they did with like extrapolating the puzzle mechanics and is great. Yeah, and the co-op is great too.
I'm gonna add Portal 2
It's-
here.
Honestly, one of the best co-op games I've played.
John, do you think Civ 5 should be in the top 10?
I think it's the best version of that game.
Is it though? Did you play 1 through 4?
No.
See, a lot of people are diehard Civ 4 fans, and they don't like 5. But I personally never really played 4, so I can't vouch for
I
it.
feel like there was more of a backlash to 6 than there was to 5.
But did 4
Yeah.
didn't come out in the decade, did it?
No, but
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
saying.
not what we're talking about. 5 is like the best strategy game of the decade.
I would.
I would put it above XCOM, which is probably one of the only other strategy games I played because it's way more polished.
XCOM Enemy Unknown is very polished. XCOM 2 had some bugs for sure.
No, I had issues with the first XCOM. Could have just been the version at the time, but
I respect the shit out of XCOM, but I've never been able to play it.
Did you play Civ 5?
A little bit. Not
I
things that
was
would be
not-
on my list, really, is the thing, but also, like, you know, it's not necessarily like Spelunky's not on your list. It's not necessarily on either of your list either.
If you
but
want a polished strategy game, what about StarCraft 2?
I didn't play StarCraft 2.
Exactly.
Can't talk about that.
you did need. Oh yeah, you did put
I've
StarCraft 2
played.
on yours.
Yeah, I played through all 3 giant ass campaigns too.
I mean, I definitely like if I'm gonna pull other games that I think belong in games like top 10, like Control's definitely in there, and I do think that Dead Cells belongs in there too.
Control, to me, I feel like I need more time. Is the problem. Because I
need
think
more
there could be some recency bias on that, in my opinion. I think the game is incredible, but I don't know if I'm going to be thinking about it 3 years from now, is the thing, you know?
Yeah, my issue is it left a really good first impression on me, and then I got frustrated with it, and I put it down, and I do want to go back to it, and I still think about it a lot, but I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know if I would really
see.
put it in
I
that.
just think like what it opens up the world of gaming to, or at least like itself. I mean, it. How do I want to voice this? The world that they've created with Control is expansive in so many different ways. They could create different games based off of the different AWEs, off of the different objects of power. Like you could literally like spawn an entire series of games off of the things that happen in this one game. Like it could be so huge. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. Hopefully, I would like to see the universe of this game expanded upon further. So I just think the potential that it has should have some kind of an impact, even if we just put it at number 10. Like, I don't care. I think it belongs on the list, though. I think the 10, I mean, I don't know. We could go through and pick out based on years, too, and actually, like I did, but we don't have to. I just think it belongs on the list.
What else?
Dead Cells,
Wow.
you could argue in terms of being like a platformer with randomly generated shit, because that's basically what Spelunky is. Like, they're very similar in that respect, but also very differently played games.
Yeah. No, I think just like Dead Cells certainly, I think comes in that after that wake of Spelunky for sure. But I
Yeah.
think it does things so differently that I think it would be a separate entry. But so right now on the list, we've got Skyrim number 1, Rainbow Six Siege number 2. These numbers don't mean anything yet. I just wanted to list
Yeah, 10
what are these games that would end up on here. Skyrim, Rainbow Six Siege, Mass Effect 2, Spelunky, Portal 2, Civilization 5, Control, and Dead Cells. Is there anything else on anybody's list that they feel like needs to be on here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Brian. Give us...
When you're done chewing on that
when you're done
crumb.
chewing. I think one that I really would love to see on here that I don't necessarily know that I would get would probably be Fez. I think Fez is maybe the epitome of like indie gaming.
I would put Fez on there over Dead Cells.
You think so?
Yeah, even though I forgot to put it on my list. It's a very unique game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it, in a way, it was like kind of one of the biggest like indie games. Like, I don't know. I
They
felt
made
like
a
indie games
documentary about it.
yeah,
I mean,
indie games kind of blew up around that game.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, indie games kind of blew up around Xbox 360. You know,
but wasn't that a showcase 360 game?
it was, but like years later is the thing.
Okay.
But all right, we'll put. I'm gonna put it on the list just to keep track.
Personally, I'm still a huge fan of Horizon Zero Dawn, and that would be in my top 10. I wish it was here, but I'm guessing it probably won't be based on how you guys feel.
I liked it, but I don't know that it would be something that needs like I don't know that 20 years from now I'll be like, yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn. You know,
It'll probably still look good. 20
probably.
years at least.
What do you think about it, John?
I haven't played enough to really care about it. That's the problem, though. Like that game came out at a time where I was just like totally over open world games.
Yeah,
I think it takes all the lessons from the other open world games and like does it right though. Like it's the best Assassin's Creed game that's not an Assassin's Creed game.
I kind of hate the fact that I got through that game without feeling like I fully engaged with the trapping system. Because that's all those weapons are, is like setting up traps and luring the dinosaurs into them and that type of thing. I got to a point in that game where I feel like I just started brute forcing a lot of the combat. And I don't really love that was possible. Like I wish that I was forced
it's not
to.
on the higher difficulty levels.
Yeah, that's true. But and maybe that's more of a personal problem, but
It's definitely not possible in the expansion. Which
yeah,
the expansion was really good.
I didn't touch any of that. I feel like I'd have to just start the game over at the beginning.
You basically what I had to do was go back to one of the starting areas to relearn how to play the game.
though. Yeah.
Because, I mean, there are so many. That's one of the things I like about it is, yeah, like sometimes you can cheese your way through the combat, but it just feels so good when you actually understand the combat and you get efficient with it, almost like how you feel when you're playing like a Souls game.
That's what I hate, is that I never got to that point. Because I know that it's there, and I know that some people got to it. I just never found myself getting there.
I feel like you had to if you wanted to beat all of the like proving grounds on the top difficulty
Mm.
level, and that's what I did. And that's just so much fun. And I love the story. I loved the whole setup. That whole world is kind of unique for a post-apocalyptic setting, which is rare because I mean they basically all seem the same.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think,
It's good.
like, how do we feel about Bloodborne being on the list?
Yeah, we don't have any Souls games anywhere on
If I
our
were gonna
list.
pick one of those, I would pick Bloodborne because that was like my gateway to those types of games. And
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
still holds a special place in my heart, especially
And if you think about it, people are still discovering shit in that game, like,
Yeah.
to this day.
I have never even done a Chalice dungeon.
I don't even know what it is.
They're randomly generated.
Alex still doesn't
dungeons.
even know how to get the gun.
Yeah, I know. He's still looking for shit on the steps.
Yeah, I don't know.
Starting area.
Stuck in the
It's
hunter's
also-
dream.
You can't even get out of the hunter's
This game's so hard, guys.
One of my fondest memories of recording episodes with you guys.
It was a good one.
Yeah, that was a little painful for me to go back and listen to. Is there anything like? There's no Destiny here. No, like John. John, you had
Hash
it.
thinks Destiny needs to be on the list.
John, you had it on your list. Brian, you have it on your list.
I'll mention why I felt like it was a contender to the game of the decade, and that is because it's the first. It's one of the first like cooperative shooters that did what it did. Like it was the MMO shooter online with your friends. Like I fought to get home early enough to play with people.
Yeah.
And like it kind of spawned a genre in a way too. I mean, I don't think you would have Destiny necessarily, or you wouldn't have games like The Division, and I feel like even Overwatch is somewhat mixed in there with this too. Like games like these competitive shooters like that have these fantastical elements like wouldn't be there if it weren't for Destiny.
That's true, but is it good compared to these games?
I think so. I mean, story-wise, not so much, but I think the gameplay itself is something like we all can agree that the gunplay in Destiny is some of the best gunplay.
Have I spent more time playing Destiny and Destiny 2 than all of these other games? Yes, I have. But I still don't necessarily think that they are like shining examples of like perfected game design or anything like that. But it's
sure,
just-
there are other things around it that I think qualify it. Like I do think the lore in the game is something that is pretty incredible. Like they definitely have this well thought out storyline of shit that has happened that led up to the game that we play. Like stuff that I don't even know where they come up with this shit. Like it just shows a level of creativity that is pretty astounding to me. That's why I kind of had it as a contender. I think it like spawned a genre and has done a lot of really good things. But it's ultimately like, I think Skyrim's better overall. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not gonna fight to get it on this list,
No, that's fine.
but if you guys wanted to,
I don't necessarily think it needs to be on the list. I think like we need to narrow it down to just 10 games. and
I
we
want
have
to. Well, I
11,
want to
so-
finish. I want to finish getting through some of it. Like I think The Last of Us is something that I could see on a game of the decade list for sure. I think it's one of the best third-person action like narratives that came out this decade for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that other people haven't done it. I wouldn't necessarily say better. And like obviously Uncharted 4 is like the same people doing it again. But also I feel as though the Uncharted games feel as though they were the best in the decade beforehand.
Mhm.
But I think The Last of Us kind of beats out even Uncharted 4 in my opinion. Just in terms of like the story and how it's put together and the way you play it. So it's something that I would like to see on the list, but I also know that like it's not necessarily anything new. It's just the best version of something that we've seen before.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I would put
Yeah, I
it.
mean, well, a lot of these are not anything new, like Civ 5, for example. 5.
Fair enough. Metal Gear Solid 5 is incredible, but I think it's born out of a lot that came before it.
I feel as though we should kind of give Destiny a little bit of props because it is mostly what spawned us into wanting to make a podcast about video games.
I mean, if there's
first,
any
like-
game that's been mentioned in all 123 episodes
first-
of this
yeah.
of this podcast, it's probably Destiny, right?
I also it's the first game that like I felt like we had a crew of people playing together all the time.
It is, the first game that everybody played.
All right.
Everybody played it. There's not any one of our friends that didn't play it.
Feel the reluctance.
Yeah. The Witness is fantastic, but I think Portal 2 should be on the list. Hyperlight Drifter is awesome, but maybe not remarkable enough. Friday the 13th is incredible, but I don't think it's the best version of an asymmetric multiplayer game that will probably come out. So I think there's more to come. Super Mario Odyssey is just very good Super Mario, but
Doesn't need to be on there.
not necessarily something special. John, Far Cry 3.
That was my game of 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have a position on this list anyway?
Not necessarily. I do think it's probably like I like Far Cry 3 more than any of the other Far Cries I've played, but I don't think it needs to be on the list.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider's the best reboot ever made.
Is it? What about God of War?
God of War is really good too, but I think Tomb Raider takes
Well,
the cake.
it's not really a reboot entirely, though.
Doesn't
Doesn't it follow in the wake of the stories?
It kind of, it's like a
past?
reboot sequel, a requel. Yeah, God of War. God of War is very good. But Brian, Witcher 3.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to get it on the list with John and I here.
Yeah, that really sucks because it definitely belongs there.
Sorry. I wish I liked it more.
I wish you did too.
Forza Horizon 4.
I mean, that doesn't belong there because you guys didn't really play it either, I guess. But I think as far as that genre of game goes, it's definitely the best example. It's better than Burnout Paradise.
I was just asking if Evolve is the best asymmetrical.
Absolutely
multiplayer
not.
game. Even less people played that than Friday the 13th.
Sorry, man.
XCOM, we've discussed a little bit.
I would wholeheartedly put XCOM on the list over Civ 5 if I was going to pick a strategy game.
I'm gonna. I also don't think you're going to get Red Dead Redemption 2 on this list, but do you want to say any words about it?
I'm disappointed that you guys didn't enjoy that one either, even though I really enjoyed it.
If I was going to put one on the list, it would be Red Dead Redemption, because that one I got
The
through.
original.
Yeah, and I enjoyed a lot.
It
just was not there for me in Red Dead 2.
I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is better.
I'm not gonna lie, like I'm itching to kind of play it again, but I also know I'm just gonna fall asleep while riding the
Does
horse.
the PC version have ray tracing?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know if it does.
That would be interesting.
That would be
It's
interesting.
on sale on Humble right now. I did debate buying it last night.
BioShock Infinite is a game that a lot of people in our Patreon Discord enjoyed and put as their game of the decade, which shocked me, to be honest.
Infinitely?
Yes. I was BioShocked infinitely.
See, the thing with that game, like I grappled with putting that on my top 10 list, my personal list, because like, I mean, it is just like very awe-inspiring. Like when you first start that game and you're going through it, just the world of it is cool. It's very cool. But there's so many weird things with the story that haven't aged well or maybe like seemed impressive at the time and wouldn't be now. And I don't have fond memories of certain aspects of the gameplay compared to the original game. If this had come out this decade, would absolutely be on my top 10. But like they dumbed down some of the like the skill systems and stuff in that game to the point to where they just weren't as fun, in my opinion.
And that's the thing. Like, I came to BioShock very late. Like, I played that in the months leading up to BioShock Infinite coming out, and I was kind of like, I don't see what everybody like loved about this. being somebody who respected System Shock 2 a lot, never actually completed it.
I will say that BioShock's element system, the way it's visualized on the hands of the character, was taken by Skyrim. Like
That's
Yeah.
true.
they
Yeah.
took that visual from BioShock.
Mm-hmm.
But in that same, so in that nature, I was very excited for BioShock Infinite because people were like pumped for it. They're like, oh man, BioShock 2 was terrible, which I've also heard is not true. But people were like, BioShock Infinite's where it's at. And then like it came out and it was nothing like any of the tech demos that they had showed off. And I just remember people being extremely disappointed by that game. And when I played through it, I was like, well, that was a video game. And then I turned it off and never thought about it again until somebody said it in our Discord a couple weeks ago. So I might be being very dismissive, but I don't think BioShock Infinite is something that I personally would have on our list.
I'm
So.
okay leaving it off.
All right. StarCraft 2, you said maybe the best strategy game. Would you put StarCraft 2 over XCOM?
Nah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed XCOM more overall, I think.
And it felt more like, I feel like XCOM felt like a different version of that game, where StarCraft 2 is probably just the best version of StarCraft that exists,
Yeah.
right? You know, it's an
It's-
improved version of StarCraft.
Yeah, more of the same for a new age.
Yeah.
It's not groundbreaking in any way.
I guess I never played much of the old XCOM games, so I don't know how
I
much.
didn't play a lot, but I played a bit. Like the new ones, they definitely encapsulate the same kind of like feel that the original ones do, but they're more playable, like better interfaces, and
Yeah.
obviously better looking.
Rocket League is interesting on this list.
Rocket League is a great game. It's just I didn't play it as much as other people did that I know, but like I feel like anybody that plays that game likes it because it's just it's so solid, and it's on like every platform.
Yeah.
It's the first like massively cross-platform game, I would say.
Yeah.
Minecraft is.
Well, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
fine.
none of us care about
Second.
Minecraft, clearly.
Nah.
None of us mentioned Fortnite. There is one
Because
Battle
Fortnite does
Royale.
not belong on here
there's one battle royale on this list, and that would be PUBG is on Brian's list.
because I was obsessed with it. But when it really comes down to it, I don't know if I'd put it on the list because it's.
I mean,
janky.
that's the thing. If we had a bunch of superlatives for this too, like that would be like the battle royale game of the decade.
I
We
don't
wouldn't-
know. Tetris 99
we
is
wouldn't-
pretty fucking good.
We wouldn't have the other ones
Well,
if it weren't for PUBG. It was like-
Honestly, I think Apex Legends is the best designed battle royale game, but PUBG
but
came
again,
to mind
it
first.
spawned a
because-
genre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like what I think of when I think of battle royale games. And
right. Because of its popularity,
It's
have
weird
other
that it will
games.
likely become a footnote in the pages that Fortnite and Apex Legends will dominate, to me.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with a lot of
It
these
still
things.
does have a pretty good player base, and
Yeah.
like a lot of the popular streamers that mostly just play battle royale games go back and play it still.
Titanfall 2.
I mean, the campaign's great and the multiplayer's great, so it is a great game. I might not put it on the top 10 over like the original Titanfall because I liked the multiplayer in the first Titanfall better.
Yeah.
It was a little faster. There's a little more customization options for like loadouts and stuff.
Any thoughts about Dishonored 2 to share beyond what you have in recent weeks? Although that was the DLC.
That was a different one.
Best immersive sim of the decade.
Possibly. Although I really liked Prey.
Prey
too,
was
and I
very
didn't
good,
even
yeah.
Put it on the list.
Yeah. So I think we should go through our Discord homies game of the decade just to see if there's anything else in here that we would add to our list, and then we can finally whittle down our list.
All right. So Jason said Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Nico said Portal 2. Joey says Dark Souls. Tommy says The Witcher 3. Corey
Oh,
said Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. Gladys said Rainbow Six Siege. Nikki said Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Zach said Mass Effect 2 and 3 because he couldn't pick between them, even though I said
No, I
just
think
pick one
that's
game.
Mass Effect 2/3.
2/3, yeah.
Yeah, I loved Leslie Nielsen in that one.
Willie said The Walking Dead Season 1. Jason K said Bioshock Infinite. Jason or Bruce K said Bioshock Infinite with a runner-up of Skyrim. Alan said Fallout New Vegas, and Nick said Skyrim.
Yeah, I haven't played enough Hellblade to say.
Hellblade.
I haven't played any
is
Hellblade.
very intriguing from a story standpoint, and like the visual, like audio design, just how
Super
it
beefed
sounds
up.
like there are actually voices in your head. All that's just awesome, but I hate the gameplay. Like the weird puzzle solving in it is super boring, and the combat is super boring.
I felt bad that you guys bullied Nikki into not picking Hellblade, but it seemed like she really did enjoy
Obviously,
Horizon enough to change it. So
Obviously, I would say
I just remember her playing Horizon more. Like
Yeah.
I remember her like hearing her scream at the screen in the background while playing Rainbow or whatever with Corey. So like I know she played
that was
game.
Breath of the Wild. I think she was.
I heard a
doing
lot of
it.
Breath of the Wild too, but yeah.
But I think Horizon. Another thing I think I remember her talking about loving Horizon for was having a female protagonist that was like a badass. Like
Yeah.
so,
Now we have Jessie, who's even more of a badass.
Jessie's
in
so
a way.
badass. She's the best fucking character, man. Control's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think there's anything we need to pull from this list to add.
Yeah, Horizon
Necessarily.
Zero Dawn, probably.
Well, it's already on
Witcher
there.
3. Yeah.
It's because that's the thing is like I think we all
We covered a lot of this. The one
Yeah.
that we didn't really cover, I would say, would be The Walking Dead. And I don't. Telltale games just aren't for me, but I know that a lot of people think either The Walking Dead Season 1 or The Wolf Among Us are the best of the Telltale games.
The Walking Dead Season 1 was definitely like... That game made me more emotional than I think any other game I've played. Like, the ending sequence is just like such a gut punch, and just the whole thing, you really feel for the characters in that game. And I did play, I think, the second season after that, and it just didn't quite capture the same feeling. But yeah, I wouldn't put it on a list if I had to pick between like 10 games.
Yeah. I think I would have more glowing memories of those if I was able to convince somebody, whether it be whoever I would have been dating at the time or a bunch of friends or whoever, to come and play those games with me. Like, I feel like I would have had a good collective experience with Telltale
I can
games,
see that.
but that never really came together in my practice. So
I've heard Untitled Goose Game is a good game to play with other people in the room.
I could see that.
It's more fun.
I think that'd be fun. All right. We've got 13 games on our top 10. Skyrim, Rainbow Six Siege, Mass Effect 2, Spelunky, Portal 2, Civ 5, Control, Dead Cells, Fez, Horizon Zero Dawn, Bloodborne, Destiny, and XCOM. So we got to take 3 of these off.
I would take XCOM off, and I would take. Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
All right. Well, I am willing to give up XCOM if you give up Civ 5, and we just don't have a strategy game on here.
Okay, fair enough.
Yikes, that's
Yeah,
that's
okay.
murder, but I agree with that. I'll take that.
So that gets
I
rid
have
of,
no casualties in that battle.
That gets rid of 2.
And now we just delete Spelunky, and we're good.
Oh, fuck that. We're deleting Destiny before we
I
delete
was gonna
Splunk.
say I'd probably say Destiny out of any of those, but
You know,
I
as
can't.
much as I liked Dead Cells, I don't think it belongs on this list either. Like, I don't think it did anything that crazy. Like, it's a fun game. It's
Fair enough. I can be in agreement with that.
I don't think like, man, that was like my favorite game in the last 10 years. Like, I would put Into the Breach on there over Dead Cells. I had more fun with Into the Breach.
Yeah, and I think I'd put The Last of Us on before Horizon.
I don't want to budge on Horizon.
We can make a trade
I
here,
really have
Brian.
to give up The Witcher 3, which
Yeah.
absolutely belongs on this list.
You
No,
wouldn't
it
have The
doesn't.
Witcher 3 if you didn't have Skyrim, so
That's not true.
suck my cheese wheels.
Sweet
Well,
rolls.
Sweet rolls.
The Witcher 3 isn't on here anyways, so screw you. What about, did we really decide Control should be on here? Or should we let it wait? Let it
I like it so
simmer?
much right now that I'm willing to put it on here, but I also feel like it's one that could, Like that might move lower than 6, obviously, but I think I think all three of us were so positive on that game that it would feel weird to not include it.
The only reason I think Dead Cells should stay on our list is because it was our game of the year
Yeah.
for 2018.
I don't remember that. Was I here?
Yeah. Yeah, you were.
So
To be honest, I didn't play a ton of Fez. I appreciate it and I do like it, but I didn't play a ton.
I played 0 Fez.
I don't like where this is going.
I also did.
You haven't given anything up yet.
The problem is like there are 4 games on that list that I haven't played at all, and 1 game that I've played barely at all. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I've played all of the games on this list.
What's your least favorite out of all the games on this list?
Destiny.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Really?
it.
You take Destiny over Horizon?
Yes.
Interesting.
I would.
Wow.
I would. John, what's your least favorite game on this list?
Like not counting the ones that I haven't
Nope.
played.
Your least favorite game. What is the game that you would most readily take off of this list?
Spelunky.
Brian?
I mean, I haven't played much of it, so I guess I would take it off of here. We'll let you keep that one, though.
Something's got to go though, is the problem.
I would take Dead Cells off at this point.
I don't think Dead Cells.
Because of what Brian had said. Like it really hasn't done much. Like it is a great game, but it hasn't done much in terms of like being innovative or whatever.
Since
Hodge says he's
2018
unfollowing if Destiny gets taken off, and he's never playing Siege.
Since 2018, I haven't thought about playing Dead Cells that much. I have thought about playing all of these games since they've come out.
Except Spelunky.
Still
and Fez.
thought about playing them. So that's how I feel about it. Even Spelunky. I'm like, I should try Spelunky. No, I don't want to rage quit and throw my computer across the room or something.
Hodge has never heard of Fez or Dead Cells.
Well, that's sad. You should play those games. But they shouldn't be on this list. Definitely play Dead Cells. I think you'd appreciate that, Hodge.
I think we keep the list as it is, and Destiny's a runner-up.
That doesn't feel right,
but
though.
Skyrim's
I think
numero
Horizon
uno.
Zero Dawn is a runner-up.
God damn it.
Because there's literally only one person here who's, well, that's, I can't pull that fucking card with
Exactly.
Oh, shit.
I guess John doesn't have any on here that we don't all like, though. Other than maybe Destiny.
John, I
I'm
would
just
give
kidding.
up. I would give up Fez if you have something you would want on here that neither of us have played.
But then we'd still have 11.
Well, we might cut it too. I don't know.
That's the thing. You guys have played everything that I've played.
Yeah.
That's hard, man. Unless I go back and look at like my list of games that I've played in the decade, which is just stupid.
Well, all right. I mean, I don't know why I want to hold on to Dead Cells so hard, but
Because it's so pretty and it plays so well.
but it's a great game,
True.
and I want to play more of it right now than I want to go back. But I did finish Horizon Zero Dawn too, is the thing, so I can't.
So
don't
did
feel like
I.
that.
And then I started like doing all the side stuff. And then I played the entire expansion. I'm like, this is still fun.
All right, I don't think any of us have beaten Dead Cells. Period.
No. So now we have /Fez on there.
/Fez, yeah. All right, and I think here's the thing. I think 2 through 10 don't really matter what order they're in, is the thing. I think it is just, if Skyrim is the game of the decade, then we have our 9 runners up.
Sure.
Do you agree, Brian?
That.
What happened to Zelda?
We
Zelda's
decided
not
to
on there
decide.
because Skyrim is
Okay.
the ultimate Zelda.
Okay.
Zelda Breath of the Wild is just Skyrim with the Zelda skin on it
Yes.
and
Alright,
not
alright.
first person. Also very good and not as buggy as Skyrim.
Yeah, I still feel like we could maybe do better than Fez. But beyond that, I'm pretty content with this.
What would you
list.
do better than Fez with? If you make me an argument, then I will certainly hear it out. But if it's like we got to take Fez off and put Red Dead 2 on, fuck
No,
no.
maybe like
I would just write like Fez/Dark Dead Cells.
or maybe
All
yeah.
the indies are so small they fit into one
they
slot.
classify as one game.
How about Fez cells?
I want to play that game.
I would. The Last of Us.
Ooh.
That's another game though. It's kind of like in the same vein as. I mean, it's not the same style of game as Dead Cells, but I feel like it's the same reason why it's not on here right now. It's like a shining example of a type of game that's been done a bunch of times.
I don't think I can let go of Fez. Because I think if you played more of it, you'd like it more.
It is super cool. It's just I'm not smart enough for that game.
That's not its fault.
It's definitely. I mean, it's pretty wild too that it's like a completely combat-free game.
But here's the thing, all right? If somebody looks at this list and they want to see what games they haven't played that they should check out, they've probably already played The Last of Us. Probably. Compared to Fez. Like, I think if these are games that we want more people to see and think about and look at, like maybe Skyrim shouldn't be on the top of it. But in terms of like the other 9 games,
Yeah.
if you haven't tried Siege, you should check it out. If you haven't played a Mass Effect 2 is great. If you haven't played Spelunky, you should because it's awesome. Like,
If you haven't played a turn-based strategy game, you should play XCOM Enemy Unknown. But it's not on here anymore. All right. Fine.
you cut that deal. I didn't do it.
You know what? No, this is good.
This is good.
Control is our like cool third-person action game, I guess, that is on the
What is
list.
Horizon Zero Dawn?
That's a different. It's like our cool Assassin's Creed game. It's like an open world
All right.
objective-based
Okay.
game.
All right. Because there aren't enough open world games on here.
I mean, I would compare Horizon Zero Dawn closer to like a Far Cry in terms of like what it has going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
other,
it also
other than perspective, you know.
Also, I don't like it that much.
Yeah.
All right.
guns feel like pea
If you want to take it off of there, I'll accept The Witcher 3 in its place.
Nope. This is good. We're good. We got our 10.
Okay, I'm
All
good
right,
with this.
Fine.
All right.
Whatever.
So Skyrim is the game of the decade, followed closely by runners-up Rainbow Six
Hit
Siege,
the applause button.
Rainbow Six Siege, Mass Effect 2, Spelunky, Portal 2, Control, Fez, Horizon Zero Dawn, Bloodborne, and Destiny in no particular order after that.
I think that's a good list of games. I mean, those are all very good games, except for the 4 I haven't played.
Well, I think you owe it to yourself to try all of those games.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you not play Portal 2?
No.
That's ridiculous.
I don't think you played Portal.
No.
You
I
can
didn't.
finish Portal 2 in like a couple days.
I also own Orange Box. Like I have
I was
these
just very
things.
sad that New Vegas isn't on there, but I'm not. Because Fallout 3 is like number 2 on my last decade list for sure.
The original Portal you can finish in one sitting.
That's fine. It's not about finishing games. If it was about finishing games, I'd have a whole bunch of games finished. Anyways.
Yep.
So yeah,
Those are our games of the decade.
thanks to all of our Discord homies for giving us their games. of
For
the
giving us
decade.
suggestions that we didn't even consider.
No, we considered them. I mean, they were on our list.
Hey, to be honest, the only reason Dark Souls isn't on my list is because I didn't play that much of it.
Yeah. And
I played a lot of Dark Souls 3. It is a very good game, but I think Bloodborne is a
Well-
better representation of what those games should be.
I bought Dark Souls on PC when it was very broken, and so then I just never went back to it.
That's fair.
It's fine now, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we have our list.
All right,
I'm happy with it.
good enough.
I got Spelunky and Fez on there, so
Cool.
it turned out.
Maybe I'll get The Witcher 3 on there when we do a top 20 games of the last 20 years.
Yeah. Anyways, if you want to follow us on social media or see all the places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month and help keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreon. Haj, if you got an extra like $5 laying around and you join the Patreon, you can discuss all this shit with all of our nerdy friends on our Game Nerds Discord there.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's the network Discord. But yeah, as always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to at MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. Yeah, we are Twitch affiliates. Be sure to throw us your free Prime subscription if you have it. If not, that's cool. You can just throw some extra sub money at us. If you have any extra sub money, that would be dope. If not, not a big deal.
Completely ignore everything John says, but that's rude.
Just be sure to follow us at the very least, so you check us out whenever we record. That'd be awesome. Thanks again to Haj, and Gladys jumped in there at the very end, and Bigos, Alex's homie from work. Thanks for stopping by the chat here on Twitch and hitting it with us. We do appreciate that as well. Next episode, I don't know what we're talking about.
We should probably talk. I mean, I know we're
Some
a
kind
month
of
in here, but
most
most
anticipated.
anticipated.
Yeah.
I think would make sense that way. You know?
I mean, well, all of
You
my
mean
most
the episode
anticipated
of-
games
yeah.
got pushed back, so we have plenty
Most-
more time to talk about them.
Most anticipated delayed game of 2020.
yeah, I think that'll be good. But
We're just delaying our episode as they delay the games.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that works.
The good news is nothing came out in January. That's not necessarily true, but I feel like nothing that we would have been extremely anticipating came out at that time. So that'll be a good
Yeah.
next episode, and then maybe we'll start playing video games this year.
Yeah, I've got
Maybe.
a few. I'm trying to wrap up, so
Yep.
we'll see how that goes. But anyways, thanks again for listening. It was a little bit long-winded there at the end, but that's okay. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our little discussion, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.